I heard my own idea leave someone else's mouth, and every face in the room turned toward her, not me. The lights on the conference screen washed the table in cold blue, and the logo I designed, clean, bright mine, glowed like it had forgotten who brought it to life. My boss smiled. She spoke my words, my phrases, like she had practiced them in front of a mirror, like my late nights were just letters she rearranged to fit her script. Smash that like button right now. Subscribe to this channel and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Have you ever watched your work walk away from you? Not with footsteps, not with noise, but with a polite voice and a confident nod. Have you sat there, heart pounding, while strangers admired the thing that grew in your hands and you were invisible? Northbridge Analytics liked to pretend it was a family. That morning, the family had visitors. 3 investors in black suits, the kind with quiet shoes and eyes that never stop calculating. A carafe of coffee on the sideboard. A plate of tiny muffins no one touched. A slideshow ready to go on the giant screen. And me, sitting at the edge of the table with a notebook I didn't need, because I knew every slide, every story, every number by heart. I had built Echo Pulse from a mess of sticky notes and a simple promise. Make customer noise sound like music. Here at Northbridge, we've been exploring a new approach to customer insights, my boss, Vivian Cole, said, clicking to the second slide. It's something I've been passionate about for a while. I blinked, passionate. The first time she said I thought, maybe she means the team. Maybe she means we in the I, maybe this is just how she talks when the stakes go up. Maybe. But the maybes felt thin, like tissue paper in a storm. On the screen, the wireframe I sketched alone in my apartment. The color palette Ria and I argued about for an hour. The logo I drew at 2 a.m., eating cold noodles and whispering to myself, clean lines, warm edges. Slide after slide, my work, and Vivian's voice guiding the room, not one glance my way. An investor with gray-streaked hair leaned forward. So this was your initiative from the start, he asked. Vivian's smile barely moved. It started with a spark I had while reviewing support transcripts, she said. I pulled together the right people. That's what I do here. The air in my lungs turned heavy. I tasted the bitterness of coffee I hadn't even sipped. I felt the burn crawl up my neck, not visible, I hoped, but loud inside my skin. My fingers drummed the table once, twice. Stop. Be still. Don't make a scene. My mother's voice in my ear, choose your battles. My own voice, is this not one? She clicked again, a live demo, the one I configured at dawn. Echo Pulse took a messy paragraph of customer complaints and returned something simple, human, kind. The investors nodded. One of them, Harper Lynn, crisp and sharp, said, "Impressive. Whose idea named it Echo Pulse?" Silence at the table, a second that stretched. I waited for Vivian to say my name. I waited for my colleagues to glance toward me, to flick their eyes, to rescue me with something gentle. She did. She did. It was hers. Vivian took a breath. The name came from a brainstorm session I facilitated, she said. We had several options, but I went with Echo Pulse because it carries both listening and energy. My chest tightened. I looked down at my notebook. On the first page, I had written 3 words in big letters before the meeting. Stay. On. Message. I had planned to talk about the heart behind the product, the people who called our support line at 2 a.m. from parking lots and kitchens, their voices shaking, angry, scared, hopeful. I had planned to say, we owe them clarity. We owe them care. Instead, I was a shadow in my own story. Theo cleared his throat. He sat across from me, eyes darting between me and Vivian. He knew. He had pulled code with me when the server coughed smoke at 3 a.m. He had ordered pizza to keep me from passing out on the keyboard. But now he stared at his hands. Ria, the designer, glanced at the ceiling, lips pressed together. It felt like the whole team had swallowed something sour. Vivian gestured toward the charts. Phase 1 increased response speed by 22%, I said before I could stop myself, voice steady but soft. Heads turned. The investors looked at me like they'd just noticed a new window in the room. Sorry, I added. I pulled those numbers this morning. Vivian's eyes flicked to mine, a warning wrapped in a smile. Maya, been helpful with data pulls, she said. Helpful data pulls. I forced my face to stay neutral. Inside, a door slammed. The sound rang in the hollow of my chest. Harper looked at me again. "What's your role?" she asked. I could say it. I could say creator, architect, owner. I could leap across the table and drag the truth into the light. My mouth opened. "I asked Maya to support on analytics," Vivian said smoothly. "We're a collaborative shop." I felt a flutter at the edge of fury, not the hot kind that makes you explode. The cold kind that makes you write things down. The kind that says, "Remember this. Write the date. Write the time. Write the exact words. You may need them later." The demo ended. The room exhaled. Investors whispered to each other. Harper said, "I'd like to see this rolled out to a pilot. Timeline." "In 2 weeks," Vivian said. "I'll coordinate." In the corner of my eye, a Slack notification on my laptop screen. "You okay?" From Ria. My reply hovered over the keys, no, but I typed, "Fine." The meeting wrapped with handshakes and the sort of smiles that never reach the eyes in places like this. The investors left. Vivian turned to me like nothing strange had happened. "Great job with the prep," she said. "Can you send me the raw data you used for the graphs? I want to package it for the investor follow-up." Can you send me the raw data? Package it for her story, for her voice. I nodded because I didn't trust my mouth. I gathered the empty mugs. I stacked the little untouched muffins like a waitress at a happy wedding that wasn't. No one spoke. Theo reached out to help, then pulled his hand back like the mugs were too hot. Vivian's heels clicked out of the room. The second the door closed, I let my shoulders fall. My fingers shook. I am not a crier. I am a fixer. I am a list maker. Today my list had only one line, breathe. "Hey," Ria said softly, coming up beside me. That was messed up." I nodded. My voice was stuck behind my teeth. "You gonna?" "Not here," I said. "Not like this." There are moments when your life splits. You don't always know which one is a split until later. But that morning, it was like a camera zoomed in and everything else blurred. I could either swallow it, or I could make sure the right people heard the real story. I looked at the spot where the investors had sat. The chairs still held the shape of their decisions, and I made one of mine. I would not be erased. Not quietly, not ever again. If you've been here, you know the ache, the anger, the shock that makes your palms sweat. But stay with me because what happened next is why I'm telling you this. The quiet part, it didn't stay quiet. And the person who tried to rewrite my story, she was about to hear it read out loud. But to understand how I got there, to the day I let investors hear the truth, you need to know where Echo Pulse came from. You need to know who I was before the room went cold and my name disappeared like smoke. You need to see the nights, the coffee, the tiny flickers that kept me going. So let me rewind just a little to the start of the spark and the smile that fooled me first. The first time I wrote the words Echo Pulse, it wasn't even a name. It was a feeling. I was on the support floor at 9 p.m. where the lights are too bright and the hum of headsets falls into a tired rhythm. People don't call customer support because they're happy. They call because something broke or because they're alone with a thing they don't know how to fix. I would sit there with a notebook, listening to the chorus of voices, and I kept thinking, this is noise. But inside it, there's a heartbeat. I wasn't hired to build anything. My title was Analyst II, middle of the stack, not flashy, but I never looked at my job as a box to stay inside. If someone asked me to run numbers, I asked what story the numbers were hiding. If someone sent me a spreadsheet, I looked for the human fingerprints around the edges. Maybe that's soft. Maybe it's the way I was raised. My mother would say, do the work, but don't forget the people. Either way, on that floor, past bedtime, I decided I was going to make something simple that did one brave thing. Turn angry paragraphs into clear patterns, and turn those patterns into actions that actually helped someone. The project started with sticky notes on my wall, words that kept popping up in calls: confused, delayed, refund, login, locked out. I grouped them, I drew circles around them, I drew arrows between them. My roommate at the time stood in the doorway chewing an apple. "Is this art or panic?" she asked. "Both," I said, laughing. "Give me 3 weeks and I'll show you." 3 weeks became 3 months. Late nights became quiet mornings before the sun, before the office was loud, when the city felt like it belonged to people who still believed in things. I learned the habits of the cleaning crew. I learned which vending machine got restocked with the good granola bars first. I learned the faces of the security guards on the night shift, and they learned my name. "Back again, Maya?" they ask. "You building a rocket ship in there?" "No," I'd say, "just a ladder." At first, Echo Pulse was nothing more than a spreadsheet with a brain. I tagged words. I counted them. I wrote notes next to them in plain language. People can't find the login page. People don't know the difference between password and PIN. People think pending means lost forever. I started writing little scripts for the support reps to try. Instead of saying pending, say on the way. Instead of ticket, say request. Stop apologizing for things that aren't your fault. Instead, say what you can do now in the next 2 minutes. We tried it with one team. I told no one beyond that team. I brought donuts when I asked the reps to test it. Not bribes, just kindness. In a week, those reps started taking off their headsets between calls and saying, "Hey, this helped." That the way that made a guy stop breathing like a steam engine. In 2 weeks, fewer calls were bouncing to escalation. In 3, one rep taped a sticky note to her monitor. "Say the human thing first." It felt like standing in a tiny room and watching a window open. It felt like the world got a degree warmer. Around then, Vivian noticed me. She'd been at Northbridge for a year. If you looked up executive presence, her picture would be there. Voice calm, hair sharp, shoes that said she wasn't walking anywhere by accident. She had built herself on words like vision and scale. And when she came to sit by my desk one afternoon, setting down a coffee I didn't ask for, I felt seen. "What are you working on?" she asked. I told her, trying not to ramble, trying to keep my excitement from spilling everywhere. I showed her my messy prototype, a simple screen where you paste a paragraph and it hands you back the few things you need to do next. She leaned in, nodding, asking the right questions. It felt good. It felt like someone with power was finally listening. "This is smart," she said quietly, "but it's not just smart, it's kind. I like that." She held my gaze for a second longer than people usually do. "Let me help you get it in front of the right people." Those words are oxygen when you've been pushing something uphill alone. Let me help. Right people. I said yes before I could think about the weight of that yes. I sent her my notes. I sent her my slides. I sent her my draft emails. That's the first red flag, by the way you start forwarding your voice to someone else so they can polish it. At first, she did help. She got me 10 minutes in a small product meeting, and when my hands shook, she stepped in to steady me, not with stealing, not yet, but with a glance that said, "You've got this." Afterward, she walked me back to my desk. "You were great," she said. "One thought, when you tell the story, say we more." We was fine. It felt right. I didn't build Echo Pulse alone. Theo had helped me fix a meltdown I caused with one clumsy line of code. Ria had pushed me on the design until it felt like a friend instead of a tool. The support reps who tested it were the heart. But we has edges you don't see in the beginning. We can be a bridge. It can also be a door that shuts behind you while someone else keeps walking. More small signs appeared, like breadcrumbs under a dim light. The first time I sent Vivian a deck I made for a leadership check-in. She replied 20 minutes later with a new version. Same slides, same story, except the title changed to Echo Pulse. A vision by Northbridge leadership, and the signature at the end had her name first, mine second. "Just for alignment," she wrote. "Optics." The second time, an email went around to the directors. "Vivian's team is building a new customer insights tool." No mention of me. "That's fine," I told myself. "I am on her team." The third time, this one stuck in my throat. A junior analyst from another group stopped by my desk and said, "Hey, is that your thing they announced in the town hall? Vivian's idea seems cool." I laughed then because it was either that or cry. "Yeah," I said, "it's cool." I told myself stories to smooth the edges. She's helping me. She sees me. Titles don't matter. The work will speak. But here's the truth they don't tell you when they say, "Do the work." Work doesn't have a mouth. People do. And some people take your words and make them their own if you let them. Still, I kept building. I was too close to bail. We got a pilot in a local branch. I watched the numbers turn from red to yellow to green. I wrote up little field notes like a scientist. Customer called angry, script used. Outcome, calmer in 60 seconds. I printed my favorite email and taped it inside my notebook. Hey, Echo Pulse team, today I had a call with a grandfather trying to buy a subscription for his granddaughter. He couldn't figure out the login. He was so embarrassed. I used the phrasing from that new tool. He laughed by the end. Thank you. That email carried me for days. It reminded me why I started. It made me think that maybe the machine we worked in could be kind if we fed it the right things. Vivian took me to coffee again. Investors on the horizon, she said. Keep your head down. Let me handle the storytelling. The way she said storytelling made my stomach roll. Who gets to own a story? The teller, the maker, the one who buys the microphone, but I nodded. And when she asked me to send her the draft I was planning for the investor deck, I sent it. When she asked for my raw notes on nomming, I sent those too. This line, she messaged, quoting my sentence about the heartbeat inside noise, is beautiful. Mind if I use it? Did I mind? Yes. Did I say that? No. I typed, of course. Because I was still playing by rules I didn't write, in a game she'd been practicing longer than I knew. There were good days, too. Days when the team clapped after a demo in the small meeting room with terrible chairs. Days when Theo high-fived me so hard my palms stung. Days when Vivian looked me in the eye and said, "I'm proud of you." On those days, the red flags looked like confetti after a parade. Harmless. Pretty. The week before the big investor meeting, I had a feeling I couldn't shake. It wasn't fear exactly. It was like sitting on a train and realizing it's veering slightly off the track, not enough to panic, just enough to make your teeth buzz. I slept badly. I came in early. I checked the deck. I checked the demo. Everything looked right. But the narrator voice in the back of my head, call it instinct, call it a whisper, kept saying, hold on, watch the pronouns. The morning of, Vivian stopped by my desk. Hey, she said. You'll sit in for support. If they ask technical questions, jump in, okay? She said it like a gift. She said it like trust. Will I talk through the origin? I asked, casual, like it didn't matter. She tilted her head. Let me ease them in, she said. I'll set the stage, you add color if needed. Set the stage, add color. The words brushed past me like a breeze that should have felt nice, but made me cold instead. I pressed my palms flat on my desk and smiled. Got it, I said. After she walked away, I opened my notebook to a fresh page and drew a small square in the corner. Inside it, I wrote a single word. Name. Not because I needed to remember mine, but because I needed to decide if I was going to say it out loud when it mattered. Then I closed the book, stood up, and followed the path I had chosen, right into that boardroom where the air turned thin and my idea came back to me wearing someone else's coat. You know what happened in there? You were with me. You saw the smiles. You felt the silence. You heard the word we used like a blanket that covered only one person. And you also saw the part of me that woke up. The part that wrote things down instead of screaming. The part that took a breath and said, okay, if the story can be stolen in a room like this, then the truth can be told in a room like this too. I didn't plan to explode. I planned to expose. There's a difference. One burns everything. The other lights a path. And that's how the revenge started. Not loud, not messy, but with a stack of notes, a list of dates, a careful heart, and a promise I made to myself that day. I will make sure the right people hear the real story. When the time came, I would make them listen. Silence has a sound. It's the soft click of a calendar invite that doesn't include your name. It's the ding of a Slack thread titled Investor Follow-Up that you can read but not write in. It's the office kitchen at 8:30 a.m. where the coffee is fresh and people say, great job yesterday without looking directly at you. The morning after the meeting, great job, Vivian, spread like confetti in our team channel. A screenshot of the investors' nodding faces, a string of thumbs-up emojis. Someone pasted a quote from the demo, turn noise into a heartbeat. The quote was mine. The credit was not. I scrolled, watching my own words march across the screen with a different flag. Then I got a private message. Theo, can we talk? I said yes. He met me in the small huddle room with the two bright lights and the plant no one waters. He didn't sit. He hovered, hands in pockets. I'm sorry, he said. I should have said something in the room. Why didn't you? I asked, not angry, just tired. He swallowed. I have a mortgage, he said, small, and she scares me. Honesty can be a kindness even when it hurts. Okay, I said. Thank you. He nodded, almost grateful I didn't push harder. I'll back you if you need facts, commits, timestamps, but don't put my name on anything official, please, not yet. Ria came in a minute later, locking the door behind her like we were hiding from a storm. I made a list, she said, sliding a folded paper across the table. Slides you sent her first, pieces you wrote, the date you showed me the Echo Pulse logo in my living room. If you want to go to HR, I'll go with you. I can't be the first voice. I looked at her list. It had lines only a friend would remember. Maya's sticky note wall, June 3. The phrase on the way, July. Grandfather login call, August. The paper shook a little in my hands. Thank you, I said. 2 words, small boat, big ocean. Before HR, I tried Vivian, one-on-one, neutral ground. I practiced in the mirror so my voice wouldn't wobble. When I walked in, she was on the phone. She held up a finger, smiled, and said into the receiver, "Yes, our vision is aligned. I'll craft the narrative." When she hung up, she gave me her full attention. "What's up?" she asked, bright, like everything was normal. "I want to talk about yesterday," I said. "About credit, about ownership." She leaned back. "Maya, I give credit." She said it like a fact, like saying the sky is blue. I said we the whole time. "You said I a lot," I replied, keeping my voice even. "You told Harper the name came from a brainstorm session you led. You introduced me as helpful with data pulls." She folded her hands. "I can't have you get defensive," she said. "The room reads that energy. Investors respond to a steady message, a single voice." "Does that voice have to be yours?" I asked. "Right now, yes," she said. "That's my role, that's my job. Your job is to support, influence without authority. You'll get more visibility when you're ready." Ready as in quiet, as in grateful for crumbs. I looked at her and saw someone who believed her own story. "I'm going to HR," I said softly. Something flickered across her face, annoyance, then smoothness. "Of course," she said. "If you feel upset, that's a resource. Take Friday off if you need. Reset." Take Friday off. Reset. I almost laughed. "Thanks," I said. I left before the heat in my chest turned into words I couldn't take back. HR smells like lemon cleaner and caution. The rep's name was Natalie. She had kind eyes and a notepad that said, "Let's talk." I sat across from her and told the truth, not with fire, with facts, dates, people. The sentence Vivian borrowed and framed as her own. The way the room turned toward her and not me. The shift in titles and emails. Natalie listened. She nodded. She wrote. "This is tricky," she said finally. "We don't adjudicate credit. We do care about patterns, about behavior, about whether people are safe and respected. I can schedule a mediated conversation. I can coach your manager on giving credit, and I can advise you on how to document your contributions." "Will it change anything?" I asked. "It can," she said carefully. "It might not change everything, but documenting will help at performance review time, and mediation can set expectations." Performance reviews, 3 months away, a lifetime in project years. "I'll take the mediation," I said, "and can you put on record that I raised this now?" "Absolutely," she said. She handed me a sheet titled Employee Resources. It had bold words like voice and integrity. It felt both brave and small. The mediation happened the next day in a room with glass walls and a table that made people sit too far apart. Natalie sat between us, hands folded. "The goal is clarity," she said. "Vivian, the concern is credit and role clarity. Maya, you'll go first." I spoke. I kept it simple. I built Echo Pulse. I named it. I wrote the early scripts. I led the pilot. I want my contributions recognized in front of leadership and investors, and I want a path to lead it visibly. Vivian nodded slowly, like she'd practiced nodding in a mirror. "If you felt unseen." "I'm sorry you felt that way," she said. "That was not my intention. I have to balance narrative consistency and investor expectations. I value Maya's work. I can mention her in the next update." "Mention, like a footnote." "What about title?" I asked. "What about role?" Vivian smiled. "Titles are fluid here," she said. "Let's focus on impact. For now, Maya will continue to support analytics and QA. I'll shepherd the investor story. We'll revisit after the pilot. Natalie looked at me with those kind eyes that can't fix a thing. We'll document this, she said. The next 2 weeks blurred into long days and quiet nights. The pilot worked. Numbers went up and to the right. Support reps sent me messages like, "It's calmer now," and customers stop yelling faster. One wrote, "Tell whoever built this that they made my day." I almost replied, I did, but I didn't want to drag them into this. In meetings, I became the one who spoke when a detail stuck. Sample size is 1,200. We saw a 22% speed gain. The error rate dipped on day 5 because we changed the phrasing in the script from ticket to request. People nodded, then turned back to Vivian for what to call it. It was like being the instrument that plays the notes while someone else gets the bow. On a Tuesday, I woke up to 3 calendar invites. Investor Summit Exec Briefing, Investor Summit Customer Insights Panel, Investor Summit Investor Walkthrough, all marked exec only. In the description, featuring Vivian Cole. My name wasn't anywhere. Rhea slid into my desk chair before I could say anything. She had 2 coffees and a look that said she'd slept as badly as I had. "Rumor," she whispered. "All hands Thursday, big reveal, new org structure." I stared at the screen. The words got fuzzy around the edges. "Do you think?" "Yes," she said. "I'm sorry." That night I couldn't turn my brain off. I lay on my back in my dark apartment, the city outside whispering trains and sirens and distant laughter. I got up. I opened my laptop. I started a document called Receipts. Not because I wanted to fight dirty, because I wanted to be clean. I put dates, files, screenshots, email headers. I pasted the first time I wrote Echo Pulse in my notes app. Months ago, time-stamped at 9:47 p.m. I took photos of my notebook, the one with name in a little square. I added the email from the support rep about the grandfather and the login. I exported the commit history where Theo and I pushed code at 3 a.m. My hands were steady. Not angry. I was building a map. A text popped up from my mother. She's a nurse. She believes in work that makes you tired and proud at the same time. "You okay?" she wrote. "I'm navigating," I typed. "Proud of you," she sent back. "Stay kind, stay clear, don't let anyone write your name in pencil." I smiled in the dark. Then I drafted an email to the CFO's assistant. Short, polite. "Hi, Marcus, I'm Maya. I built the Echo Pulse pilot. I'd love to give you a 2-minute line-level perspective before Investor Summit. I think it will help. Thanks either way." I read it 3 times. I deleted it. I wrote it again. I sent it. The reply came the next morning. "Thanks, Maya. Schedule is packed. Appreciate the work. Maybe post-summit." Maybe post. Thursday came like weather. People flowed toward the atrium where they set up a stage and lights and bad coffee. Vision 2025, posters on the walls. Music too loud, trying to feel like courage. I stood at the back, next to Theo and Rhea. We looked like 3 kids watching a train we didn't buy run over a track we laid. Vivian took the stage to applause. She was made for a camera. She smiled like she owned the light. Behind her, a slide lit up. Echo Pulse making noise human. My heart did a slow, tired roll. She started to talk. She used my line. "Somewhere inside the noise is a heartbeat," she said. We listened. The crowd nodded in that way crowds do when they want to be on the winning side of something. And that's when I understood. People weren't ignoring me to be cruel. They were choosing the story that sounded like it would protect them. Safety dresses up like loyalty sometimes. I knew the big reveal was coming. I could feel it in the way the room leaned forward, in the way the lights warmed. I gripped the back of a chair and waited to see how far the erasing would go. You always think there will be a little warning before a knife goes in, or whatever the safe word is for that. A little change in the air, a sign, but sometimes it happens with a smile. "Today," Vivian said, voice carrying to the mezzanine, "we're not just celebrating a pilot. We're announcing a new program. Echo Pulse will be a cornerstone of our customer strategy." Applause like rain. She raised her hand, and the room fell into a hush. And I'm thrilled to introduce the team who will carry this forward. My breath hitched. This was the moment. This was either going to be the place my name lived or the place it was buried. Leading product for Echo Pulse, she said, Caleb Ward. A young man I'd seen twice, once in the hallway, once in a meeting where he said almost nothing, stood from the front row, surprised and pleased. He jogged up the steps to the stage. He shook Vivian's hand. He took his place beside her like it had been waiting for him all this time. Director of Data Science Partnership, Milton, she continued. Another man joined them. People clapped. Design lead, Riya Patel. Riya's name. Riya's eyes widened. She didn't move. She looked back at me like someone had called her name at her own wedding when she wasn't ready. She didn't go up. Vivian barely paused. We'll confirm design leadership in the coming week, she covered smoothly. And I want to acknowledge the many contributors who made this possible. She looked out at the crowd. Past me, through me, our analysts, our support champions, everyone who tested and gave feedback. This is what we can do together. People clapped. The company Slack lit up with congrats Caleb, and big move, and Echo Pulse squad. A gif of fireworks, a string of heart emojis. I stared at the stage, at the three people who stood where I had imagined standing. My name hung in the air like a balloon slowly losing its helium. Theo's voice came low. I didn't know, he said, regret like gravel. She told Caleb this morning. Ria's hand found my sleeve. I swear, she whispered. I didn't agree to this. I didn't know. I'm not, her voice broke. I'm not going up there. On stage, Vivian kept building her narrative. Echo Pulse was born from a spark I had while reviewing transcripts, she said. I pulled a small team. We worked late nights. We believed it was possible to draw a clear line between chaos and care. And we were right. My stomach tightened. She'd trimmed my story to fit her coat and then draped it over someone else. It was efficient. It was ruthless. It was so calm. A Q&A opened. Hands shot up. Questions about rollout, about scalability, about whether other products would echo Pulsify. I half expected someone to ask, "Where, Maya?" No one did. Not because they didn't know, because the room had already decided not to know. After the applause, after people began to drift, after the music went back to trying too hard, Vivian found me. She always found people when she needed to find them. Walk with me, she said. She didn't wait for me to agree. She led me to a small glass room where the hallway sounds turned soft. She closed the door. I hope you understand, she began, that phrase people use instead of sorry. No, I said, surprising myself with how steady it sounded. I don't. She folded her arms, then unfolded them. Investors need senior faces, she said. Caleb has the title. He's run launches before. This is bigger than one person. I can't risk the narrative on someone who's still growing into the room. You mean me, I said. Her smile belonged on a brochure. You've done excellent work, she said. I'm recommending a spot bonus, and I want you to continue to lead from behind. You're good at that. Quiet force. The best teams have them. Quiet force. The compliment that's a cage. Why wasn't my name on that stage? I asked. Not once, not even as echoed by Maya. You used my words, you used my work, you used my line, you used my hours. Why doesn't my name get to breathe? Her face tightened a fraction. Because this is not about you, she said. It's about us. It's about Northbridge. It's about our customers. Making this about credit is small. Small, I tasted the word. It tasted like dust. She kept going. Look, walk with me here. I'm protecting you. If something goes sideways on stage or at Investor Summit, I take the hit. You don't. That's the privilege of being shielded. This model works if everyone plays their part. Does my part include being erased? I asked. Her eyes cooled. Watch your tone, she said softly. I'm offering you goodwill, don't squander it. Put my name on the record, I said. In the summit deck, in the charter, one line. She looked past me like the wall had something interesting to say. Then, gently, no, a story needs a single face, I'm the face. I stood up. Then we're not telling the same story. She shrugged. You can be angry, she said, or you can be smart. I walked out before my mouth found words I wouldn't love later. Outside, the hallway felt too bright. The posters on the wall, "We are one," felt like jokes that forgot they were jokes. Within an hour, a PR draft of the all-hands announcement went out. It read like a victory lap. Vivian Cole announces EchoPulse program under her leadership. A new Slack channel created, EchoPulse program. Caleb posted a cheerful, excited to build this. Rhea didn't join. Theo lurked. I stared. Then the permissions started to shift. Click. You no longer have access to this doc. Click. Your access to the staging server has changed. Click. Calendar invite updated, attendees removed. It was so polite, so neat, the way you tidy a room after you've moved someone out. I went to find Rhea. She was sitting on the steps by the loading bay, where the air smelled like rain and cardboard. She looked lost. "I didn't ask for design lead," she said. "I won't take it, not like this." "I know," I said. I believed her. I sat beside her and watched the rain draw lines on the concrete. "HR didn't help," I added. "They documented, they coached, it didn't matter." "What will you do?" she asked. I stared out at the wet world. "Something clean," I said. "Something that won't break anything that doesn't deserve breaking." She nodded. "I can help gather the timeline. I'll pull the earliest Figma files with your name. I'll export versions and timestamps, and the chat logs where you described the name to me." "Do it for you," I said, "in case they try to fold you in and chew you up." "I'm doing it for both of us," she replied. On my way back in, I stopped at the support floor. The reps were between calls, that thin quiet that comes before the phones erupt again. Maria, a rep with a laugh that fills rooms, looked up. "We hear there's a new program," she said, unsure. "You part of it?" My throat felt tight. "In a way," I said. I couldn't make myself lie. "How, EchoPulse treating you?" She smiled. "People calm down faster," she said. "I feel less like a punching bag, more like a person helping a person. Whoever made it, tell them thank you." "I will," I said. My voice shook a little. "I will." Back at my desk, an email arrived from HR. "Follow-up from mediation," boilerplate. "We encourage all parties to continue to collaborate and recognize contributions." Advice with no teeth. Attached was a document titled Career Growth, Analyst Track. It talked about being a quiet backbone. It talked about influence without authority. It did not talk about credit. Then a new email from Marcus, the CFO's assistant. "Hi Maya, got your note. Sorry we can't fit you into the investor summit schedule. There may be an investor floor walk. If so, they might visit support. No agenda yet. Appreciate your contributions." It was a humane no, it still stung. I opened my receipts document and added, "All hands announces program. Caleb named product lead. No mention of Maya. HR follow-up noted." I pasted the PR draft. I linked the access change emails. I recorded the time, 3:17 p.m. Theo messaged, "Maya, if you need me to confirm commit history, I will, off the record. I can also make sure you still have a read-only view of the logs, don't ask how." I replied, "Thank you." Rhea messaged, "Pulled early Figma, exported with timestamps. Found your first logo sketch with the rough echo wave, dated. It's in a folder labeled weather code name. You're not losing this to a clean rebrand." I sat back. I watched the rain on the window turn the city into a blur. I felt the ache in my chest, anger, yes. Sadness, yes. But also something sharper. Clarity. The kind that says, you can't control what they say about you in rooms you don't enter, but you can control what you bring into the light when the door finally opens. At home that night, I cleaned my kitchen like I was scrubbing a bad dream off a plate. I called my mother. I told her the update. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "When I was a young nurse, a doctor used my idea for a patient handoff. He presented it in front of the board. He got a bonus. I got a pat on the head." Her voice was calm. "I thought it would always be like that. It wasn't. Patience is not the same as silence. Don't confuse them." "I won't," I said. "Good," she said. "Also eat. Revenge plans are better with a full stomach." I laughed in spite of myself. I didn't sleep much. The investor summit was 2 weeks away. The program announcement meant they curate what investors saw, what they heard, who spoke, whose names were on what slide. Doors would be guarded. Narratives would be prepped. But that support floor, If they walked investors through there, if they wanted to show heart, maybe, just maybe, there would be a gap in the script, a place where truth could breathe. I am not a saboteur. I am not a burner. I don't want to scorch earth. I wanted one thing, the right people to hear the real story in a way they couldn't brush aside as emotional or disruptive. Clean, undeniable, human. I sat at my small kitchen table and drew 2 columns on a sticky note. Left, what they control. Right, what I control. On the left, slides, stage, titles, invites. On the right, my evidence, my voice, the people who had seen me do the work, the tiny human moments no executive deck could fake. I put the sticky note on my fridge. I put my hand flat against the cool door and said out loud, because sometimes you have to hear it from yourself. They can try to write me out, but I'm still here. And then I started to picture it, not a blow-up, a quiet reveal in the one place they couldn't script every breath, a moment that would make people go still, not with shock, but with recognition. The truth landing in a room like a note you can't unhear. They had taken my name off the stage. I was going to find a microphone they didn't own. Breaking points don't always roar. Sometimes they whisper. Sometimes they sit beside you at your small kitchen table and point at a sticky note that says what they control and what I control, and they ask, "So, which side are you going to touch?" The morning after the all hands, I touched my side. I walked into the building like it didn't own me. I took the stairs to steady my breath. On the support floor, the lights were soft, the day just waking. Priya, our support manager, was already there with a mug that said, "Listen first." She had a way of seeing people as people, not as badges. When she looked up and saw me, worry flickered, then resolve. "You heard," she said. "I heard," I said, "and I need 2 minutes when investors walk this floor." She didn't blink. 2 minutes to do what? 2 minutes to give them the line-level view, I said. The simple why and how from the person who built the pilot. Not to attack, not to accuse. To tell them what Echo Pulse really does. To let them hear the heartbeat, not just the slogan. Priya leaned back, thinking, "Does Vivian know you're asking?" "No," I said. "If she asks later, you can tell her you wanted a field notes moment. Because you do. The reps deserve it. This is their win too." Priya's mouth tugged at one corner, half smile, half warning. "You understand investors make people like me very careful." "I don't want to make you pay for my courage," I said. "I want to make this clean, 2 minutes. I'll keep it human. I'll keep it factual. If anyone asks, I'll hand the mic back." She stared at her mug like the answer was printed on the ceramic. Then she nodded once. 2 minutes, she said. Under support floor, empathy in action. I'll put it on the run-of show. If they cut it, they cut it. But if they walk through here, I'll make sure there's a stop called field notes. You stand there. You speak when I nod. Deal. "Deal," I said. Relief touched something inside me, sharp, then warm. "Thank you." She held up a finger. "One condition, you don't torch anyone. We don't do fire in here. We do light." "I'm not a torch," I said. "I'm a lamp." As I turned to go, Maria spun in her chair. "Are you doing a thing?" she whispered. "Maybe," I said. "Will you stand with me if they ask what changed your calls?" Her answer was a grin that reached her eyes. "I'll tell them the truth," she said. "I like my job better since Echo Pulse. And I like my job because a person who sits in analytics came down here and asked what we needed." I smiled. "Then that's what we'll say." I spent the next hours building something I could carry with 2 hands and a steady voice. I laid out my receipts into a binder with tabs, origin, pilot, results, team. I printed the page from my notes app where Echo Pulse appeared for the first time. I printed the email from that grandfather story with names blocked because privacy is not a word on a poster for me, it's a habit. I printed the code logs with dates, the ones Theo sent me with a small note clipped to the top. "These are public commit times, no secrets. If anyone asks, I saw you build." I carried the folder over to Ria's desk. "Do we have clean exports from the design timeline?" I asked. "Not the files, just the version dates." Ria had already pulled them. She slid over a neat stack. On top, a print of my first rough logo, an echo line shaped like a small wave, like a heartbeat left by a child's crayon. In the corner, a faint timestamp. They can argue about stories, she said softly. They can't argue with ink that's already dry. Thank you, I said. I felt something sting behind my eyes. I blinked it back. On my way out, Theo met me by the printer. I made a one-page for you, he said. Plain language. What Echo Pulse does in human terms. I put the numbers in the margin. No fluff. He handed it to me. I read it and laughed, short and real, because sometimes your friends remind you you're not crazy. The first line said, Echo Pulse helps us say the human thing first. Under it, example scripts that replaced pending with on the way, ticket with request. At the bottom, pilot led by Maya R. with support from the team. I circled that line. And this. He shrugged. Truth, he said. I sent one more email, not to HR, not to Vivian, but to legal. Subject line, Invention Record Echo Pulse. Body. For our IP log, I conceived, named, and built the first version of Echo Pulse on date. Pilot run on dates. Attached, summary and timeline. I attached the same clean, non-confidential pages I put in my binder. The auto-reply came back seconds later. Received timestamp. I took a photo of the screen, not because I wanted to fight. Because I wanted to be ready if someone else did. Then I wrote my script, not a speech. A map, 3 beats. Beat 1, the problem. On the support floor, people call with fear in their voices. Our reps drown in noise. I heard the noise and I heard a heartbeat. Beat 2, the making. I built a simple tool to turn that noise into clear actions with kind words. We tested it. We changed phrases. We watched people soften on the phone. Beat 3, the numbers and the names. Speed went up. Escalations went down. Morale rose. My name is Maya. I built the first version and led the pilot. The team made it real. I stood in an empty conference room and said those words aloud until my voice sounded like they belonged to me again. That afternoon, Priya, Maria, and I did a dry run. You're going to stand next to that cork board, Priya said, pointing to a bare wall we would turn into a timeline. We'll hang the steps. We'll call it Pilot Path. No blame, just path. Investors love path. Maria pretended to be an investor. What made you think of this? She asked. I was on this floor late, I answered, and I heard the same hurt over and over. I wrote it down. I asked for help. I made a small thing and I watched it help. That's all innovation is here. What about scale? She asked, eyebrows lifted. We're already seeing it, I said. When one rep uses a better phrase, the customer calms faster. When 10 reps do it, the day changes. Priya nodded. Keep the pride, she said. Don't perform apology, don't ask for permission in your sentences. You did the work. Do you think Vivian will try to stop it? I asked. Priya exhaled through her nose. Probably, she said. If she finds out, but this stop isn't about her. It's about the floor. It's about our people. If I get pushed, I'll say it's part of the empathy walkthrough, which it is. Okay, I said. When the building emptied and the city shifted into its evening hum, I stayed late with Rhea to make the timeline board. We printed tiny photos and tiny captions. Week 1, listening and sticky notes. Week 2, script swaps. Week 3, pilot launched. We blurred names and customer info because we weren't building a spectacle. We were building truth that could stand on its own. Lou, the night guard, stopped by as we worked. You two at it again? He asked, amused. He'd seen my late-night glow so often he always had a granola bar ready. Tomorrow is big, I said. He peered at the board. You made this thing they keep talking about, he asked. Yeah, I said. Huh, he said. I thought so. I saw you here every night. I don't know slides, but I know who turns lights on and off. He walked away whistling. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that until I felt my shoulders drop. Before I left, I printed a small stack of one-pagers titled Echo Pulse Field Notes from the Pilot. At the bottom, in tidy letters, compiled by Maya R., Analyst II, Pilot Lead. It wasn't boasting. It was a label, the same way you label a file so it doesn't get lost. As I tucked the pages into a simple cardboard holder, my phone buzzed. Marcus, the CFO's assistant. Run of show updated, he wrote. Support floor, empathy segment added. No promises on timing, keep it tight. I stared at the text for a second, stunned. I hadn't expected a yes from that direction. Maybe Priya had pulled a string I didn't know she had. Maybe fate moved on small wheels when you pushed with clean hands. I went home. I ate real food like my mother told me to. I laid my clothes out for the morning, simple, dark, steady. I put my notebook, the binder, and the one-pagers in my bag. I wrote 3 lines on a sticky note and stuck it in my wallet where my thumb could find it. I built Echo Pulse to turn noise into a heartbeat. We tested with reps, and it helped. My name is Maya. And I led the pilot. We did this together. I turned out the light. Sleep didn't come easy, but when it leaked in, it had a soft edge. I dreamed of a hallway full of voices and a door that would open if I knocked in the right way. In the dream, I didn't bang. I tapped, and the door opened anyway. The day before the investor summit, the building felt like a backstage. Cables taped to the floor, extra security, signs pointing to rooms that had new names just for one day. Green room, press, VIP. You could smell nerves in the air, coffee, aftershave, new paper. A speaker protocol memo hit our inbox at 9 a.m. It said, "Only authorized speakers may address investors." I felt a flicker of panic, then read the last line. "Staff may answer questions about their day-to-day during floor visits." I took a screenshot. Priya read over my shoulder and nodded. "We're in the clear," she said. "We're not making a speech. We're answering a question we plan to ask." We turned the support floor's corner into our field notes stop. The corkboard looked simple. No glossy flair, just steps written in clear black letters, dates under each, a few anonymized quotes. In the center, a sentence, "Say the human thing first." The cardboard holder for the one-pagers sat on a small table with 2 pens and a clean cloth like it was a guest we were proud to introduce. Maria put a small bowl of mints next to it because she said everything goes better with a mint. Ria hovered, straightening corners that were already straight. "If they pull you," she said, "say your piece in one breath and hand the paper to Harper." "Harper?" I asked. "She's on the list," Ria said. Investor Group A. Priya got the 2-minute slot added to their route. My stomach did a quiet flip. Harper, the investor who asked about the name the first day, had a way of seeing through polish. I felt both hopeful and sick. Caleb walked up then, hands in his pockets, face polite. He looked at the board with blank approval. "Nice," he said. "Homie, I'll take it from here on the day." "You'll be on the stage," Priya said with a smile that had more teeth in it than usual. "This is a support stop." He laughed like it was a joke and then realized it was. His eyes flicked to me. "We should make sure messaging is aligned," he said. "No surprises." "No surprises," I said. "We're sharing how it felt in pilot, numbers and stories, that's all." "Good," he said, but he didn't look at me when he said it. Vivian appeared 10 minutes later like a cold front, trailing 2 operations people and a clipboard. She took in the board, the holder, the mince-me. She smiled with her mouth, not her eyes. "What's this?" she asked. Priya stepped up. "Empathy stop," she said, cheerful. 2 minutes. Investors see how support actually feels. That's what they keep saying they want, heart. Vivian clicked her pen. "We don't have time for extras," she said. "We need to keep them moving. We've got a very tight narrative." "We cut the product video loop by 2 minutes to make room," Priya said, pleasant and firm. "Ops approved. Marcus added it to run of show." Vivian's pen stilled. For a fraction of a second, the mask slipped. Then she turned to me. "If you're speaking," she said softly, "keep it high level. No personal credit. We're telling a company story." I held her gaze. "I'll keep it human," I said, "and I'll be clear about who built what, because ownership is part of the story too." She leaned in, close enough for me to smell her perfume. "Don't make this about you," she whispered. The words brushed my cheek like ice. Then she straightened and puffed a little laugh. "Looks great," she told the group and moved on. When she was gone, my hands trembled. Priya put her palm on the table to steady it. The table, not me, but somehow it steadied me too. "She's not the only face in this building," Priya said. "Remember that." At lunch, I sat with Theo and Ria in the corner where the microwaves beeped and a poster said "Fuel Up." We didn't talk about fear. We talked logistics. Theo handed me a plain envelope. "Code push log summary," he said. Dates only, no internal links, just a record that has my initials and yours. I don't want you on the line, I said. Too late, he said. Sometimes you pick a side by doing nothing. I'd rather pick it on purpose. Ria slid a small card across the table. On it, she had written my 3 beats, but simpler. If your brain blanks, she said, read this, out loud if you have to. People respect simple more than perfect. I slipped the card into my pocket next to my sticky note. My chest felt tight and warm at the same time. It's strange, the way strength gathers from small, quiet places. A card, a nod, a friend sitting close. Mid-afternoon, an email popped up from HR. Reminder, please route any investor questions about program leadership to the executive team. Priya laughed when she read it. That's a rule for status, she said, not for truth. Still, I wandered to an empty conference room and rehearsed interruptions. Out loud, I said. If you're asking who built it, I did with the team. If you're asking who named it, I did the night I wrote this line. And I would lift my notebook just enough for the date to catch the light. If you're asking how it feels, ask Maria. I pictured Vivian cutting in. I pictured Caleb hovering. I pictured Harper listening. I pictured myself choosing calm over heat again and again until the clock ran out and the truth stayed. Late that afternoon, Priya confirmed the slot. Investor Group A, she said, checking her list. Harper is in that group. CFO's in the back. Vivian is leading the walkthrough. You'll be the only non-manager voice. You ready? No, I said honestly, but yes. We stayed late to do the final setup. Lou dimmed the lights in the hallway and passed by with his slow, easy steps. Big show tomorrow, he said. You sleep, kid. I'll try, I said. At home, I didn't sleep much. I ironed a shirt I never ironed. I lined up my shoes. I told myself very simple things. You will stand. You will speak. You will breathe. If they interrupt, you will not break. You will hand someone a paper with your name at the bottom and the truth inside. Right before I finally drifted off, my phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. This is Harper. We met briefly. I'm looking forward to seeing the support floor tomorrow. I like to hear where ideas start. See you. No exclamation point. No fluff. My heart leaped, then held on. How did she get my number? Maybe Marcus, maybe magic, maybe people who want the truth can find the door too. Morning arrived on a silver tray, bright, unforgiving. The lobby swelled with suits and careful smiles. The badge printer chirped. The coffee tasted like ambition. I checked the board twice, then 3 times. I put the 1-pagers in the holder and laid a pen across the top so it wouldn't blow away if the AC kicked on like a storm. Vivian floated by with Caleb and a small parade. She wore navy. She wore certainty like a scarf. She didn't look at me. Or maybe she did and chose not to see me. Either way, I had stopped needing her eyes. At 10:07 a.m., Priya's radio crackled. Group A approaching. She squeezed my elbow quick, like passing a secret. 2 minutes, she said. I'll give you the nod. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. Investors stepped out like a school of fish, moving as one, sharp where it counts. Harper was among them, simple black suit, a notebook in her hand. Marcus followed in the back. And there, of course, Vivian and Caleb at the front, talking as they moved, pouring the narrative into the space ahead of them, trying to fill every gap. They stopped at the first desk, watched a rep say on the way into a headset, and watched the caller calm like someone had turned down a dial. Heads nodded. Vivian smiled. The group flowed toward our corner, toward the board, toward my 2 minutes that felt like a thin bridge over a very deep place. Priya stepped forward. This is our field notes stop, she said, bright and warm. 2 minutes from the floor, what changed here, what it really felt like when we started. She turned and nodded at me. Time slowed, not in a dramatic movie way, more like the room got kinder and let me ease into it. I stepped forward. I felt my heart hit the inside of my ribs twice, steady, as if to say, remember me. I placed my palm on the corkboard on the first square. Week 1, listening. Hi, I said, voice clear enough to surprise me. I'm Maya. I work down here. I built the first version of what you're seeing. Vivian's head tilted toward me, the smile still on but with an edge now. Harper's pen hovered, ready. Marcus lifted his chin. I breathed once. We used to tell people their request was pending, I said. They heard lost. We used to say ticket. They heard machine. So I sat right here late and I wrote down the words that made people breathe. Then I built something small that told us what to say next in plain language. We tested it with Maria. I nodded toward her. She nodded back, hand over her headset. Calls got shorter. People stopped shaking in their voices. The floor felt lighter. A hand went up. It wasn't Harper. It was a man to her left. Who named it? He asked, curious, almost kind. My fingers found the edge of my notebook. I lifted it. The date shone like a tiny light. I did, I said. One night when I wrote this line, somewhere inside the noise is a heartbeat. Harper's eyes found mine. Something like yes flickered there. Before anyone could fold my words into something else. I held out the one-pager. I made this for you, I said. It's simple, it shows the steps. It says who did what. My name's at the bottom because names matter, not to make the team small, to make the truth clear. The air in the circle changed, almost too subtle to feel unless you were inside it. Vivian opened her mouth. Caleb shifted his weight. Marcus looked from the paper to me. Harper reached out and took it. Thank you, Maya, she said. I was hopping to meet you. The edges of the room softened, then sharpened again as the next question formed on someone's lips. My 2 minutes weren't over yet. The bridge held. Rooms have a way of choosing their own truth. Some rooms invited in, some slammed the door. The customer insight session felt like a room that wasn't sure yet. The chairs were too straight. The air was too polite. The big screen glowed with a slide that read Echo Pulse, a leadership initiative. Underneath, 2 stools, Vivian on one, Caleb on the other, the CFO at a small table, the board chair in the front row, Harper, notebook open, pen ready. I was still on the support floor when Sonia's radio crackled. Maya to Insight's room, Marcus's voice came through, low and even. You're cleared to enter, 3 minutes on agenda. I looked at Sonia. Her eyebrows rose, then dropped into a nod. Go, she said. You were born ready for this. I walked fast but not rushed. The elevator felt like a throat swallowing. When the doors opened, a dozen eyes clocked me at once, some curious, some neutral, some already annoyed. I found a spot at the side near a floor mic where staff usually asked questions. My heart thumped once, twice, steady, like it remembered its job. Vivian was mid-story. We looked at the chaos of customer input, she was saying, smooth as silk, and we asked a bold question, what if we could make noise human? That's what I've led my team to do. That, Echo Pulse. Words like I and lead hung in the air like banners she wanted the room to salute. Harper lifted her pen. Before we keep going, she said, calm but not soft, can you pull up the internal wiki page titled Echo Pulse Pilot Field Notes? A small ripple moved through the audience. The CFO looked at Marcus. A few taps later, my page filled the screen, the photo of sticky notes, the small sunrise, the line at the top, started here, built here, with these people. And at the bottom, small but readable, compiled by Maya Does. The room didn't gasp. It did something better. It went quiet, the kind of quiet where people actually listen. Thank you, Harper said. Now, Vivian, can you speak to the origin story with names? Vivian's smile held. We have a culture where ideas come from everywhere, she said. We don't focus on single actors. We build as a unit. I facilitate that. The board chair leaned forward, elbows on knees. I prefer names, he said, not unkind, just like a fact that wears shoes. Vivian paused a beat. Maya contributed field notes, she said. She supported analytics. We had a team. Harper glanced at me. She didn't say take the mic. She didn't need to. The CFO did it for her. Maya, he said, voice carrying, would you share your 2 minutes here as well? 2 minutes, same bridge, higher drop. I stepped to the mic. My binder felt heavy and exactly right in my hands. Hi, I said. I'm Maya. I work in support analytics. I built the first version of Echo Pulse. I named it. I led the pilot with Theo on code, Rhea on design, and Sonia's team on the floor. I let the sentence stand on its own legs. No spikes, just bones. I started this at 9 p.m. on the support floor, I continued. I wrote down the words that made people breathe easier, then I turned those patterns into steps plain language. On the way instead of pending. Request instead of ticket. We tested it. Calls got gentler. Escalations dropped. Reps felt human again. That's what Echo Pulse is to me. It's listening and energy. It's a heartbeat inside the noise. I held up the binder, not high, not like a dare, just enough for the camera to catch the tabs. I brought dates, notes. The first time the name Echo Pulse appears in my notes app. The commit logs, the design iterations. It's all normal. It's how teams build. I'm not here to make a scene. I'm here to anchor this in truth so the story we tell outside this room matches the one that actually happened. Vivian leaned toward her mic. And leadership shaped that work into a program, she said, voice gliding back over the room. That's what I do. I'm the face that carries vision to scale. Harper didn't look at her. She looked at the CFO. Who owns Origin in your communications? She asked. If the company is going to say we, will you teach the we to say names? The CFO's jaw flexed. He glanced at Marcus, then at the board chair, then at me. He stood. We will, he said. Effective immediately, we'll add an Origin section to the deck, names included. Maya, Theo, Rhea, Sonia's team. We will also correct the program charter to reflect pilot leadership. Vivian's face flickered, a storm behind glass. We don't want to confuse external messaging, she said. Multiple names dilute the story. Investors need a single point. That's old thinking, Harper said, not unkind, not loud. Credit does not confuse. It clarifies who you can trust when things get hard. The board chair nodded. Origin slide, he repeated. Make it number 2. Caleb spoke for the first time. I'm here to scale, he said, voice careful. I stepped in this week. I would like to acknowledge I didn't lead the pilot. I'm glad to support the people who did. He looked at me when he said it. Not long. Enough. A small exhale moved through the room like a breeze. Not victory, something better. Alignment. A woman in the back stood. I'm on the comms team, she said. We can update the press draft to include the pilot team and Origin line. We can add a quote from Maya about the heartbeat and the noise. It will make the story richer. Vivian's hands tightened around her note cards. We need to be careful who we platform, she said. There's a difference between contribution and leadership. Then let's be careful, the board chair said. Careful looks like accuracy. The CFO nodded. Maya, he said, would you be willing to meet with comms after this session? We'll keep it tight. We'll keep it true. Yes, I said. My voice didn't shake. My hands did a little. I held them still against the binder. Harper glanced at the screen again, at the small sunrise, at the sticky notes. One more, she said. If this began at 9 p.m. on the support floor, will you keep a piece of it there? A counsel. A practice that makes sure the heart stays in it. Sonia in the doorway lifted her chin. We have a practice, she said. We call it Field Notes Friday. Reps bring lines that worked and lines that didn't. We will keep that. We'll tie it to Echo Pulse. And we will keep putting names on the wall. The CFO scribbled something. Echo Pulse Council, he said out loud, almost to himself. Support, build, product, comms, Origin lead included. He looked up. We'll formalize it. Vivian opened her mouth, then closed it. For once, she didn't have a line ready, left speechless. It didn't feel like a win. It felt like a shift. The session moved on. Questions about scale, about privacy, about rollout. When someone drifted back to Origin, the answer included my name without a fight, without force, just included. It felt like stepping into the light after too long in the shade. Warm, simple, real. After the last question, the CFO closed with a line that surprised me. We invest in systems, he said, but we trust people. Thank you, Maya, for bringing us the heartbeat, and thank you, Vivian, for bringing the bridge to scale. Both matter. Applause measured, not wild. I set the binder at my feet and clapped for the people who helped me carry this. For Theo in the 5th row, shoulders dropped for the first time in days. For Rhea, who wiped her cheek when she thought no one saw. For Sonia, whose arms were crossed in the doorway like a guard and a mother and a friend. As the crowd thinned, Harper walked up to me. Up close, she was small and solid, like a stone you keep in your pocket. "You did that well," she said. "Clean, no trash, you let the work talk." "Thank you," I said, "for making room." "Truth likes rooms," she said, amused. "It just needs someone to open the window." Vivian drifted toward us, smile fixed. "I'm glad we aligned," she said. "We'll fold Maya into our next steps." Harper's eyebrow lifted. "You'll fold the truth into your next steps," she corrected lightly. Then she turned to me. "Take the meeting with comms and make sure your invention record email stays pinned." I blinked. "How did you?" She smiled. "Good founders do the same things, even when they don't call themselves founders." Then she was gone, moving back into the stream of suits and small talk. I stood in the doorway of that room and watched the swirl. My hands had stopped shaking. The binder felt lighter. I wasn't sure if I'd won anything. But I had this. The story couldn't be told without my name now, not because I yelled, because I put the facts where they couldn't be swept under a rug. On my way out, Caleb caught my eye. He hesitated, then came closer. "For what it's worth," he said, quiet. "I didn't ask for that role. I should have asked more questions. I'm sorry." "Thank you," I said. "Do the job well. Listen to the floor, don't erase." He nodded. "Deal." On the elevator down, I saw my reflection in the doors, the same face but different in the eyes. Not harder, clearer. When the doors opened, the support floor looked the same as it had every day. Headsets, mugs, the wall, the heartbeat. Maria raised a thumb. Jamal mouthed, "You did it." Sonia handed me a glass of water. "Now," she said, soft, "we see what changes when the stage goes dark." After the lights, there's always paperwork. There's always a quiet reckoning when the crowd leaves and the room exhales. By morning, the internal emails began to arrive, careful and official. Subject, Echo Pulse, credit and governance updates. From legal, "We are reviewing origin documentation and program charter. Please preserve all records." It sounded dry. It sounded like protection. From comms, press release draft updated. Origin story added with quotes. Attached, a paragraph that made me sit down. Echo Pulse began as a late-night idea on our support floor. "Somewhere inside the noise is a heartbeat," says analyst Maya Does, who led the pilot with partners in engineering and design. My name in a place I couldn't have imagined a week ago. It didn't feel like vindication. It felt like oxygen. From HR, "We are opening a discussion about credit practices and recognition. We will hold listening sessions. We will adjust our performance review templates to include origin and pilot credit." It sounded like a small wave that could get bigger if we kept our hands on it. From the CFO, effective immediately, Echo Pulse Council formed. Members, Maya Origin Lead, Sonia Support Lead, Theo Engineering Lead, Ria Design Lead, Caleb Scale Lead, Comms Rep Legal Rep. First meeting Friday. I read them all twice. My phone buzzed. "Proud," my mother wrote. I sent her a photo of the Origin Lead line in the email. She sent me back 3 hearts and eat. At noon, Marcus appeared at my desk. He had the look of a man who didn't sleep much. "Walk," he asked. We found a corner by a window that looked out over the city. He spoke low. "There will be an internal review," he said. "Not a witch hunt, a real one. Vivian will be part of it." I swallowed. "What does that mean?" "It means we'll talk to people," he said. "We'll look at access changes. We'll ask why your permissions were pulled after the all hands. We'll look at comms. We'll look at patterns. We'll try to be fair." "Okay," I said. Fair sounded like a new word in an old building. He hesitated. "Also," he said, "the board chair asked for your field notes in the next deck. He wants origin as slide 2. He liked your sunrise. Don't make it bigger. Keep it human. That's the ask." I smiled. I can do human. The council met in a small room with a table that wobbled. It felt right. Important things shouldn't always happen under chandeliers. Sonia brought snacks because she knows how to make work kinder. Theo brought a laptop with stickers that said things like, "Be nice," and "It depends." Ria brought a notebook with soft pages. Caleb brought a list. I brought my binder and a quiet prayer that we could do this without tearing something that didn't need to be torn. We set a rule first, names spoken out loud. Know the team as a blur. We wrote it on the whiteboard. We wrote another rule. The floor gets veto power on any phrase that lands wrong at 4 p.m. on a Tuesday. Sonia underlined that twice. Theo proposed a practice. Every feature has a field origin tag that names who sparked it. Ria added, that tag follows the feature through the deck. Caleb surprised me. Put my name on scale, he said. Not on origin. If I help build it bigger, credit me there. Don't put me on things I didn't start. Noted, I said, and meant it. We planned small. We planned human. We decided to put a permanent wall of voices in the support floor with a rotating strip called How We Built It that names names. We decided to add an origin slide to the internal templates, not just the external deck. We decided to keep the debug overlay on purpose, on the demo station in the support floor, like a museum placard that tells the truth about who made the artifact. Then the hard part, Vivian. Legal ran the review like a doctor taking a pulse. They didn't accuse, they asked. They gathered, they interviewed. They looked at emails and invites and the day my access changed. They looked at the mediation notes, the words will mention her in the next update and what followed. They asked me to walk them through everything like I was telling a story to someone who didn't know me. I told it the same way I told it to you, simple. I said I where I needed to. I said we where it was true. I named the people who helped me and the ones who stayed quiet. Theo spoke to them, careful and brave. I'm not here to ruin anyone, he said. I'm here to say whose hands were on what and when. Ria sat for an hour and showed time-stamped files. This is her first sketch. This is my edit. This is the day we changed the color and the conversation that made us do it. Sonia brought the reps. Maria said she sat with us. Jamal said she listened. No one else does that. Caleb told them the truth about his role. I was put in that seat, he said. I should have asked more questions. I will next time. And Vivian, she sat in a glass room, hands folded, and said the lines she knew. I build narratives that attract capital, she told Legal. We can't make a cult of origin. The company is the author. The review took a week. During that week, everything felt slower and sharper. People watched what they said. People watched where they stood. In the cafeteria, conversations stopped when I walked by, then started again, louder. Some people smiled at me like I was a story they wanted to be part of. Some looked away like I was a weather pattern they hoped would move on. I didn't blame them. Courage is not free. On Friday, an all-hands calendar invite hit our inboxes. Echo Pulse updates plus culture commitments. The subject made my stomach twist. I didn't want to be the main character in a company story. I wanted the story to be clean so anyone could stand inside it. The room filled. The stage lights warmed up. This time, the slide that came up first was Vision 2025. It was a photo of the support floor, the wall, the headline, where Echo Pulse started. And under it names, my name, Theo's, Ria, Sonia's team, Maria and Jamal by first name with permission. The slide had something that felt almost tender, an arrow pointing to a little sticky note with the word name inside a square. The CFO spoke first. He looked tired. He looked like he'd learned something he didn't expect to learn. We've reviewed our story, he said. We're making changes. He took a breath. 1. Our materials, internal and external, will include an origin slide with names. 2. We're codifying credit practices so that pilots and sparks are recognized clearly. 3. We're forming the Echo Pulse Council, and we've assigned an origin lead role. 4. We will not remove people's access to their own work without a formal process. 5. We will center the support floor in how we talk about this program. He paused, and 6. Leadership shifts. The room tightened. You could feel people stop blinking. Vivian will step back from day-to-day leadership of Echo Pulse while we complete an internal review of our credit and culture practices in her org, he continued. Caleb will continue on scale in partnership with the council. Comms will report to the council for Echo Pulse messaging, and we'll share more when we have it. The room didn't applaud. It did the other thing, held its breath. Some faces looked relieved, some looked stunned, some looked hurt. Vivian sat in the front row, hands folded, face neutral. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel triumph. I felt a kind of grief for a version of our company that could have been kinder without being told to be. I also felt a small flame of hope. Then the CFO did something I didn't know how to hold at first. "Maya," he said, "would you join me? Say a minute about what Echo Pulse is to you." I walked up because walking away felt wrong. I stood at the edge of the light so the stage didn't swallow me. I held the mic like it might bite. It didn't. "Echo Pulse is simple," I said. "It's saying the human thing first. It's listening for the heartbeat inside the noise. It's reps who are tired and brave making small changes that make big days better. It's the way a caller's voice softens when they hear on the way instead of pending." It started at 9 p.m. at a desk on the support floor. It grew because people helped me. It belongs to the people who use it, not to any one person's name. But names matter. They are how we say thank you. I looked out at the sea of faces. "I don't want a crown," I said. "I want a clean story. I want the right slide to carry the right name so the next person who tries something at 9 p.m. feels brave enough to put their name on their sticky note and knows it will be said out loud later." I handed the mic back. The applause that followed wasn't wild. It was warm. It was a sound like people being relieved to know their company had a spine. Afterward, people came up to me like you talk to a neighbor after a storm. "I've got an origin too," one said, almost shy. "Can you help me write it up?" Another whispered, "I'm going to start a field notes page for support tools. Will you look?" Theo bumped my shoulder like a brother. Ria hugged me and didn't let go for a full 10 seconds. Sonia said, "We keep building, that's the work." In the days that followed, the shape of Echo Pulse changed in tiny ways that mattered. The origin slide showed up in decks without me begging. The debug overlay stayed on in the demo kiosk like a signature that refused to fade. The wall of voices became a place people stopped to breathe on hard days. The council met every Friday. We argued kindly. We put names in the minutes. We anchored to the floor and then reached up. "Vivian," the review concluded quietly. HR sent a note. "Leadership change." The language was careful. The outcome was clear. She transitioned out of the program. Some people said she resigned. Some said she was moved. I didn't ask. I didn't gloat. I took a long walk by the river and let the wind take the last parts of her voice out of my head. Caleb found me in the hallway the next week. "I meant what I said," he told me. "I'll be the scale guy, you be the origin. We'll make this work." "Then we will," I said. Harper sent a short message through Marcus. "Good, keep going. Send me the origin slide when you're proud of it." I did. She replied with one line, "Clean." There was a moment late one evening when I sat at my desk after everyone had gone. The floor lights were low. The city beyond the windows pulsed in soft blinks. I thought about leaving, the kind of leaving that is a statement. I thought about staying, the kind of staying that is a promise. I chose the promise, at least for now. Not because I owed the company anything. Because I owed the 9 p.m. version of myself this. See it through. If someday the promise needs to be a new door, I'll knock. But today, I keep building. I printed a fresh sticky note and stuck it inside my notebook, right next to the old one with name in a little square. On this one, I wrote 3 lines. Say the human thing first. Write names. Leave the door open for the next person at 9 p.m. Then I closed my notebook. I picked up my bag. I walked past the wall. I touched the corner where the light hits and makes it look like the board is breathing. Maybe that's silly. Maybe it is. Either way, I whispered, "We did this." And the room, quiet and kind, felt like it whispered back, "Keep going." A week after the review, I arrived before the building was fully awake. The sun spilled down the atrium like someone had opened a window in the sky. The support floor hummed at a soft, kind volume. The wall of voices had a new strip. How we built it, week 7. A photo of Maria's lucky mug. A note in Jamal's handwriting. Say the human thing first. Under it, small type. Origin lead, Maya. Lou, the night guard, tipped his cap as I walked by. Saw your name on the company site, he said. About time. Thanks, Lou, I said. You were there when it started. I just turned the lights on, he grinned. You did the rest. At 10, we held our first real Field Notes Friday. No executives, no cameras, just reps pulling up chairs, the council in a circle, a box of donuts sweating sugar on a napkin. We went around and shared the lines that worked and the ones that fell flat. On the way still lands, Maria said. But when a package is truly late, say, I can see why that's frustrating. I'll stay with you until we solve it. That sentence made a guy go quiet and say thank you, twice. Theo typed it into a doc titled Echo Pulse, Live Phrases. Ria sketched a tiny ear and a tiny heartbeat next to it. Sonia added, that stays. Jamal raised a hand. Small win, he said. I tried. Would you like me to wait on the line while you try it? They always say yes. It feels like we're in it together. We wrote that down. We smiled. We ate donuts. And every time a name came up, we said it out loud. That's Jamal's line. That was Maria's call. It sounds tiny until you've been hungry for it. Then it tastes like a meal. In the afternoon, the council met in our wobbly table room. We updated the origin slide for the deck that was going to live far beyond us. We kept it simple. A sunrise photo, a strip of dates, names, no fireworks, just truth. Caleb arrived late, out of breath, and sat down with his list. Scale plan, he said. We can roll to 3 more regions if we train floor mentors and keep the language human. I won't touch that part, I swear it. We'll do it together, I said, and I meant it. We also drafted something I didn't expect to write in a meeting like that, a promise. A short paragraph at the top of the program charter that read, Echo Pulse will carry its origin in public. Credit is not a trophy, it's a map. We will keep names on the wall and in the deck. We will say where this began. We all signed it. Theo drew a tiny heart next to his name, then pretended he hadn't. Later, alone in a quiet hallway, I saw Vivian. She stood by the window with a folder in her hands. For a second, it was just the two of us, no audience, no stage. She looked at me in a way that wasn't sharp, just tired. I almost walked past, then I didn't. Can we talk? I asked. She nodded. We stepped into a small room with a table that didn't wobble and silence that had weight. She set the folder down but didn't open it. I thought winning would feel different, she said. I usually know what to do next. This wasn't a win for me, I said gently. It was a correction, there's a difference. She stared out the glass at the tiny people moving 3 floors below. I'm not built for small credits, she said. I make big moves. You could still make big moves, I said, with names on them that aren't always yours. She pressed her lips together like the thought hurt. Maybe, she said, or maybe I need a stage where a single face makes sense. I hope you find the right room, I said, and I meant it. This wasn't about watching her fall. It was about building something that didn't require anyone to be a race to work. She picked up the folder. I'll be off Echo Pulse by end of month, she said, voice even. You'll do well, Maya. Not alone, I said. No, she agreed. For once we saw the same thing. When I walked back onto the floor, my phone buzzed. It was my mother. I answered on the break room couch, feet tucked up, a paper cup warming my hands. I saw the press release, she said. You sounded like yourself. I was myself, I said. She made a pleased noise. This thing you did, she said, is bigger than one program. You turned a hard lesson into a practice. Don't let anyone write your name in pencil, you made a policy out of it. I laughed. Put that on the wall. Put it on your heart, she said, and on your desk, and on every meeting you walk into. Ma. I wanted to light a match some days. I know, she said, but you chose a lamp. I'm proud of you. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and checked the metrics that only matter once you know the human part is right. Escalations still down. Call times still steady. Thank you still spiking at the end of calls. Numbers are not the whole story. But after weeks of fighting to get my name back, it felt good to remember the why under everything. That afternoon, an email arrived from an address I didn't recognize, a junior analyst at another company. Subject line, I saw your talk. Body, I've been watching my work get merged into we with no names. I started a field notes doc because of you. I'm putting dates on everything. I'm going to say my name when it's time. Thank you. I stared at my screen until the words blurred. Then I replied, keep it clean, write it down, find one brave ally, choose a lamp. A week later, Harper sent a message through Marcus. One line, the clean story travels. Attached was a photo of a slide from some other company's deck. The second slide said origin in big letters. Under it, 3 names, a date, a photo of a cluttered desk, and a line about a heartbeat inside noise. Not my line, someone else. Their own truth. It went through me like a warm wave. Maybe this is how change really happens. Quiet, steady, carried by people who choose light over heat. We built Echo Pulse out into 3 regions without breaking it. The debug overlay stayed on. The origin slide never moved from number 2. The Echo Pulse Council filled the wobbly table with snacks and hard conversations every Friday. We fought sometimes over words, over choices, over pace. We wrote names. We left the room friends. Caleb brought in a plan to add a gentle prompt when reps typed ticket, so it suggested request instead. We debated for an hour about whether that was too heavy. We asked Maria. "It's fine," she said. "Just don't make it beep at me." We removed the beep. Field veto. Rule held. Theo hired a junior engineer and introduced her at the council as the person who made the data overlay not ugly. She grinned. We wrote her name on the origin strip for that feature. Ria argued that design credits should name the person who drew the first line and the person who made it lovable. We did that too. We put a small plaque near the wall. It was a simple metal strip that said, "Started here, built together." When I walked past it, I always touched it with 2 fingers like a habit. It felt like a quiet oath. Sometimes I'd catch myself wondering what would have happened if I'd chosen fire. If I'd gone on a wide, public platform and scorched everything. Maybe I would have won faster. Maybe I would have lost the floor. Maybe I would have felt powerful for a minute and then tired for a year. The path I chose was slower. It asked me to hold my anger like a stone and not throw it, even when my arm ached. It asked me to keep saying small, true things until they made a shape everyone could see. Was it revenge? It didn't feel like a movie version. No slow-motion fireworks. No last-minute twist. It felt like this. I took the story that someone tried to twist and I set it straight. I made sure the next person wouldn't have to bleed quietly for their work to get a name. I turned what happened to me into a door. I held it open. People started to walk through. Justice, for me, looked like hearing my name said out loud at the right time and then watching the name stay when I turned around. It looked like Maria getting credit for a sentence that stops strangers from crying. It looked like Theo's sticker that says, "Be nice," sitting next to a commit log with his initials. It looked like Ria's soft pencil lines becoming something people thank her for, not something someone else puts their signature on. It looked like Sonia standing at the front of a room and saying, "We decide how we talk to people here," and the room agreeing. It also looked like not heading Vivian. That was harder. But on a quiet afternoon, I pulled the last anchor she had in my chest and let it drop. Not a pardon, a release. She's not the author of my story. I am. If you're listening to this, and your stomach is tight because you know this feeling, being erased while sitting 2 feet away from your own work, hear me. You are not small for wanting your name said. That desire is not vanity. It is a way of keeping the map clear so people can find their way back to the place where good things begin. So what do? Write it down. Dates, drafts, small photos of messy desks, screenshots, plain words, not for drama, for proof. Find one ally with a spine and a smile. Sonia was mine. Maybe yours is a rep, not a director. That's fine. Courage is courage. Keep the story human. Don't write a speech like you're pleading your case in court. Say what you did. Say who helped you. Say how it felt. Say what changed. Put the truth where eyes have to pass. A wall, a wiki, a simple one-pager, a debug overlay, a place that doesn't look like a fight. Protect the floor. Don't set fires where people have to breathe. And when the window opens, step through. Say your name, then say thank you to the others. There will be people who call you difficult for wanting credit. There will be people who call you naive for not burning it all down. You don't have to be either. You can be clear. You can be kind. You can carry your own name without dropping anyone else. Months later, I was leaving late when I heard a laugh by the wall. A new analyst was showing a visitor the How We Built It strip. She pointed to a tiny photo of a sunrise and said, "Our origin lead started here at 9 p.m. one night." The visitor asked, "What's an origin lead?" The analyst smiled. "The person who keeps the truth in the room." I kept walking slow, so I wouldn't cry, because no one needs a weeping woman in the hallway of a building where the vacuum lines are still in the carpet. At my desk, I opened my notebook to the old sticky note with name inside a little square. I traced the square with my finger like I was finishing a shape that had always wanted to be closed. Then I wrote one more line below the 3 I'd added weeks ago. Tell the story straight. I closed the book. I turned off my monitor. I walked past the wall. I pressed my hand to the small metal plaque and felt warm metal kissing my palm. We did this. We told the truth. We didn't set a match. We held up a lamp, and the room filled with light.